Now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we are going to London with a pipe and a hat. And we're looking at clues. We're looking at a card game here called I Say Holmes, 2nd edition, printing from Victory Point Games. It's from 3 to 8 players, plays in about 45 minutes. It's a card playing game where you're trying to either escape as a villain or arrest somebody as and close the case on them. I'll show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. We have I Say Home set up for 3 players. Everybody gets 6 cards, and we have a board here that helps you keep track of all the pieces in the game. What you're trying to do through the game is play cards down to the point where you can either have a villain in your hand and be able to escape. We'll talk about the details of those later, and you'll get certain points if you escape with certain villains. Or you can try to arrest somebody with a card that you think might have a villain in their hand, and then if you do that, you get to close cases and get points. There's also different ways of getting points during the game. We'll go over those in just a moment. So how does a turn work? Well, on your turn, you're going to play a card that matches with the story. At the beginning of the game, as you can see, here's my hand of cards, and there's different bordered cards. The green ones are always in the countryside. The yellowish ones are always in the city. The clue type cards and other cards are always in orange. The blue ones are always travel and travel. So someone has this, the game is afoot. This is the first card that you play. So whoever has this first card is going to play it. And when you play a card in this game, you don't put it in front of yourself or on the board. You put it in front of the next player. So I would place this down in front of the player to my left. And now they have, in this case, they can play any travel card. So you kind of have to follow the story of the game, which is basically following the color and or you can think of it as a suit. So this next player would have to play any travel card. So in their hand, travel cards are blue, notated by this blue, and any type of travel card. So the only card this person could play is this blue Hanscom cab. And so they will play this. Now when this happens, this card will go out of the game because it's the first card of the game, but this would go in front of the next player. And now, the next player would also now have to do one of 2 things. They could play any similar location or a card that says dense fog. Now in this case, we start the game in the city. Notice the yellow border. On the back side of this was that country, which is the green border. So right now, we are actually in the city. So in this case, the next player, again, has to play either a city card or a dense fog card. Now I do not have any city cards, and I don't have a dense fog card. Now, there's also other, this is what, like say, a dense fog card, it says it right at the top, dense fog. I did not have that in my hand. There's also these special cards called I Say cards. These are cards that you can always play anytime the card says you can play. You can play it out of the story sequence, but usually you have to play it during a certain time. For example, this one says play only while not moving. Well, we're traveling right now, so I wouldn't have been able to play that one. This one says play following a city location card, which is not it. But if this was a city location card, I could play one of these I Say cards, and they're kind of special cards. I would essentially draw 1 card, and all opponents secretly show you their highest value card, and then you'd get to take one of these location markers here, these little magnifying glasses. But again, this is one of the only cards you can play out of turn or out of sequence there. So if I could have played that. You have these little tokens here where you could take any one of those when you play the I Say card, but you can only have 1 of each, and you can't look at the number on the back. Each of these have a point value between 0, they're messed up with 0, 1, 1, 2, and 3 points. You'll take one of these and you can never show anybody what the point value is. And you can only have 1 of each of 3 of these by the end of the game. And if you have to take one of these, and you don't have any, you can take one from another opponent. So that's one of these ways to get points over the game as well. So let's say I couldn't have played any of my I Say cards. I didn't have any similar location or dense fog. I would draw 1 card off the top deck. I would look at it. If I could play it, I would play it. If not, it just goes to the next player. I cannot play this card because it's not in any similar location or dense fog. This would move in front of the next player, and play would continue on for the rounds going that way. And so for instance, it was moved in front of the next player, and they have a similar location. Remember, we're in the city. So now this card would get put in front of the next player because these gold-bordered London cards are the city cards. This would go in the discard pile, and this would be in front of the next player. And the next player can play either an arrest, a constabulary card, a clue, or a telegram. So like for example, a clue card has this colored border and it says clue right on the top, and this would select an opponent to currently show you 2 random cards from their hand. So that can help you, that gives you sort of a clue. And the other cards on here that you might be able to play, again, you're only playing one of these. Telegram, let's see, the Telegram. Give an opponent 1 Telegram token. Now these Telegram tokens are on the board, and they're pretty bad. Usually it gives victory points to someone on the left or the right of you, or sometimes it gives you minus points or 0 points. So the Telegrams are bad, you don't want them, but Telegrams can give people bad things. Let's see, the Constabulary card. You may secretly pass 1 card to any opponent, so maybe you give them a bad card or things like that, and this would show you what the next cards would have to be. And an arrest card. This is one of the ways that the game can end. So this will continue where people are playing cards, putting it in front of the next player. You're playing one of the cards that follow the story. If not, you're drawing a card and playing it if you can. And then we get to the end of the game, which can happen, or end of the round, which can happen one of 2 ways. One of them is when you can play an arrest card. So this card was placed in front of somebody else, and they played the arrest card. Select an opportunity to an opponent to show you all of their hands. If they have a villain in their hand, they're arrested, but it can be countered with an alibi. So let's say I played that, and let's say in my hand, someone played that and they wanted to see my hand. And let's just say that in my hand, I had one of these villain cards, okay? So normally I would be arrested and the game would be over at that point. But if I had an alibi card, these are called interrupt cards. They have a white border. This says counters penalty when you're selected. Each player secretly passes 1 card to the right, and this card replaces the current card. So this would go away. This would be the current card. The next card would have to be any travel. It would go to the next player. So I could stop this end of the game here by being arrested by playing an alibi card, and I could pass any card to my opponent to the right. Maybe I want to pass him the villain and get him stuck because maybe I have an arrest card to arrest him later. So we have the arrest card here. Now let's just say that this person did arrest me. I didn't have an alibi card. Boom, he picked me. I had a villain. I'm arrested. Then what happens? It ends the round. We would then take the villain card that was arrested. The player that did the arresting would discard the rest of their hand. Any other villain cards other than the ones being arrested would be thrown out. Then we'd take all the other cards in everyone's hands and put them together, and we'd add up all the points. The points are at the top left-hand corner of the cards, and let's say here this adds up to 32 total points for the person that did the successful arrest. You would then take the book case, the case of the book of the one that had the closest without going over. We had 32 points, so the closest one is 30. This person, the arresting player, would get this. Essentially, it's worth 3 victory points at the end of the game. And then we would start another round, completely reshuffle, restart up, and we'd continue to play another round. Now, another way that you can end the game, other than arresting, is actually escaping. So on your turn, if in your hand you have, at any time, you have just a villain card or multiple villain cards, and the only other cards you could possibly have are these white interrupt cards, the alibis and the mastermind. If you have this at any time, you simply can just throw it down and say that you escape. And in this case, you would get this villain's token, which would be this gentleman right here, and the game would end and you would start another game, and this is worth a certain amount of points too. Different villains are worth different points. This guy's worth 2. If you escape with more than 1, you take more than 1. If you escape with one that's not on the board, someone else has it, you can take it from that person. So some of these villains might be moving around the game. So, but nothing happens here and you start a new game, a new round again. This will continue until someone ends up arresting somebody and they have to take this last case, which means in this case it would be less than 20 points. But if this was gone in a round, it would have to be less than 40 points. So as the game goes on, once someone has to take this, the game ends. You count up all your victory points from these, any villains you have in front of you, any of these in front of you, and whoever has the most points there is the winner. There is a fast variant of the game to play. Instead of just playing one card at a time and having it go around the table, you can link together as many cards as you can. So for example, I could play this card, and then in addition, I can continue to play cards. So I could play any one of these 4 cards like normal. Oh, I have a clue card. Ooh, I look at my hand. Ooh, I have a suspicion card. Boom. And I continue to go until either A, I cannot play any more cards, which in this case I cannot. I don't have any travel card, I don't have an arrest, I don't have a detective. Of course, you're also still doing these special abilities as you throw them down. So at this point, my turn would go to the next player, or anytime you play a travel card, that would end. This card would go in front of the next player, the rest of them go in the discard pile, and it just speeds the game up, gets your hands down faster, and makes the game a lot faster. All right, there's I Say Holmes. I was interested in this because I love the Sherlock Holmes sort of theme and genre. I like clue type games, I like deduction type games. This game, I'd say, is kind of not exactly what I was expecting. You read about it, you're trying to escape as a villain, or you're trying to arrest somebody, and it seems like it has this mystique around it. What I found with this game is, like, if you think of a very popular game that was actually nominated for Spiel des Jahres a couple of years ago, was called Rise of Augustus. And in this game, it sort of took bingo, that everybody knows how to play, and refined the mechanisms to make it a sort of gamer version of bingo, or a more advanced, a much more gamery version of bingo. And you look at this, and what I see with this is a more difficult or more gamery way of playing Uno. So if you have a family that likes Uno, where a card's in front of them, and they have to play either the color or the suit of that, and it keeps going around, if they can't, they're gonna draw a card, and there's some special cards you can play. If your family likes that, but maybe they're outgrowing it, maybe they want a different challenge, this should be one that you might want to check out and try, because it does feel like that. Someone plays a card in front of you, and you're trying to find, oh, there's a suit there. I could play any travel card, which is the blue suit. I could play any, a city card. I could play a clue card. Different things. If I don't, I can pick it up and I can go. And you're trying to get down, and you're trying to be able to escape. Now, the idea of I had a little problem with the scoring and the length of the game. If you're playing with a decent amount of player counts, what can happen is, it could be plenty of rounds before someone has to take that last case. And one round here takes, 10 minutes or so, maybe a little longer. And so sometimes, you could be playing this game for over an hour, and I think it overstays its welcome with that. This should be a 20, 30-minute game max. So we now play timed, where at 20 minutes, the next round is the end of the round, and that's the end of the game. It just seems to flow better, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. However, I will say I do actually, and my group also agreed, that playing the fast variant, where you can actually chain your own cards, that I showed right at the end of that overview, you chain them down, you get everyone's cards down faster. For me, that was the only way I would play this game again, because it was much more enjoyable that way. Gave you a little bit more thought as to how to chain your cards together, and it moved everything around a lot faster, got everybody towards the end game a little bit faster. The idea of when you escape, you take a villain, but nothing happens on the cases. So if you play by the rules, when somebody escapes, it's almost like that was a complete extra round, because it doesn't get you closer to the end game. And again, that's another problem with how long the game lasts. But again, I fixed that with the amount of time. Also, the arresting a player. A lot of times this felt pretty random. I've got an arrest card, I've got a chance to play it, I'm gonna play it. I haven't seen anybody else's cards, I'm just gonna guess. Do you have a villain? Yes. Okay, yay, I won. No. Oh, you don't have any information. Maybe you've been able to see someone's cards by playing a clue card or playing an alibi earlier, and you gave someone a card that you know is a villain, or you do that. And maybe you're trying to kind of play those things and catch somebody, and haha, I know you've got it. But we found that more often than not, you're almost just guessing as to who has it. And it was kind of random in that effect. So this isn't a game that I would pull out with my gaming group, because they felt it was a little too random, a little too light. But if you have a family and you like Uno and you want to maybe ratchet it up, this might be one that you might want to check out and see if it might be a fit for your family. For me, it was just average at best. It didn't quite do it. I hoped it would do. But as for families, you might want to check this one out if you like Uno, and that's I Say Holmes.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.